Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Lowcountry Conversations, Season 3. And I'm excited. I've got Junior Delatorre in, and we just really met today. We've kind of hit each other on social media. We have a client that we have in common that he works for, that we work for, Rob Wells at the CVB. Rob said he kind of slid into the DMs.
Yeah, he kind of slid in there a little bit. Yeah, and he was very responsive as well. Like,
oh, yeah, no, for sure.
Like, for a dude who did that, I think I messaged him back, and within like 30 seconds, I had an 843 phone number calling me saying, this is Rob Wells. So I was like, man, this guy, he's on it. He's ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
He knows what he likes and quality content. And I know I was giving you kudos earlier, but your content is fantastic.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So let's talk about gear real quick, and then we'll kind of step back into what got you into this. So what do you shoot with mainly?
So my main camera setup, run and gun, A7 IV, obviously shotgun mic. I run a Shinobi, external hard drive. Mostly the lav mic stuff, Sony stuff. Yeah. Now for my other higher client, bigger gigs, I'll run the Sony FS7 Mark II, which is a bigger camera, much more, not a run and gun cam at all.
Yeah, for sure.
But a great camera for pretty much anything for high quality. We use it for the CBS show. Yeah. It shoots pretty immaculate stuff at 1080. Just at 1080, it shoots really great.
What glass? It's like 7200, or what do you?
Yeah, so for the run and gun, what's in my case at all times, I have like a 35 prime. Okay. I have a 28 to 75 Tamron that's just run and gun. I can get
Tamron. It's ridiculous.
Overall best, just not expensive. You get great quality out of it. I've taken that thing through rain, sleet, mud, snow, offshore, inshore. It just has never let me down. And then I have a nice 7200 Sony 2.8 sharp, one of my favorite lenses. Yeah. I have a couple drones, Mavic Sport 2, Mavic Pro that I'll run. I'll have some GoPro stuff every once in a while. Yeah. Within the last 12 months, I've been messing around with this underwater housing, trying to dial that thing really down. For sure. And that's been a cool experience just to learn it. Because you get in these habits of, I have the same lens on the same camera, and you want to get creative. You have that creative bug, that itch, and so how can I challenge myself to be a little bit better and just add maybe a different lens of something to incorporate for a business or even for personal. Right. And so it's cool to try something new and being a novice at something. And within the last year, I've kind of really taken that under my wing to really nail that, not just with photo, but also with video stuff, and incorporate it with some of the outdoor stuff that that I'm doing.
So are you on waders? So when I look at some of the footage and your water level, for the most part, that super low shot, what's your position in the water? Are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much water level. Yeah. Now if I'm in a little bit deeper stuff, I'll go full on goggles and a little snorkel. Yeah. I typically do only that though with the blue water stuff, clear because it's the Viz, and it's a lot easier with getting the lighting right.
Got it.
In the Lowcountry, it's one of the most hardest things in the world. In my expertise, which is not much, I'm still very early on, but you have this dark, very contrasty color on the bottom, right, with the marsh grass, the yellows, the greens, the darker browns, and the water can be even in the wintertime, it can be pretty dark, right? So, but you have a really nice bright background, right? You get a nice pop, with the oak trees and the sky and everything, and then the water reflects the light. So, it's really hard nailing that nice half and half. Yeah. But with the blue water stuff, I can really dial in that lighting that I like, that he's not overexposed, right? And then I'm properly exposed in the bottom.
Yeah, that's a challenge for any beginning photographer, especially if you go back to landscape or sunsets in general. Without having a gradient filter, trying to work on that and get that foreground.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I have this. I don't know if I have this nugget in the back of my head that I want to nail the shot, and I want to do. Obviously we shoot in RAW and we shoot in flat color profiles, and we want to touch up and have this creative, but I don't want to go into Photoshop and have to alter this image a lot, and that's why I kind of like video, because it's really hard to incorporate some of that stuff. It's easy to take out a light pole in Photoshop, right. Premiere Pro, when you're running and gunning down out there, it's not that easy, right?
No, not at all.
So and I think that's what makes you a better photographer and a better videographer in the back of your head, knowing that, hey, I don't want to take anything out. I want to nail this shot, where I'm at on site. Yeah. And, that's just something that I have in the back of my head, that I don't want to alter it too much.
So just get it straight out of camera. You want to be done with it and less editing on the post side of it.
Exactly. And I think that at the end of the day, that's why I hope to, when people see my stuff or see a photo or see a video, they can understand that this is a Lowcountry, right?
Yeah.
That, and it's not crazy altered. The colors that you see on this photo, when you come and see on a sunset,
for sure.
You're
That's exactly what
colors.
it is. Yeah.
And I think that originality is the most important thing right now, with all AI and all this crazy stuff. It's nailing
insane.
the stuff that's real.
The oversaturation, what kills me is we'll post something and it gets okay reaction, okay engagement, and then we see something else that somebody shot. One, it's oversaturated and it's been shared so many times and they've edited it's been double edited and then it just gets blown out. The engagement is like 4 times more than what.
Exactly.
It's so frustrating because
exactly. You're exactly right. You have to divide this line. Like, it's going to do well. Like, it's going to what's going to perform well, but you also know this is what I like. This is what I like about this image. And it might not perform as well, or this video might not perform as well. It might not be like this clickbait catchy thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
But artistically, it scratched that, scratched that itch.
Yeah.
And I think that's that fine line between social media and, actually us being, as in being creators.
I would agree.
That
100%.
fine line down the middle.
Yep, for sure. Let's talk about sound real quick and how important sound is to a video from different perspective. Obviously, audio from microphones, kind of like what we're doing now, to just the normal stuff. Some of the stuff that you've put out is like the flag that you did, which great perspective. The flag waving, you hear that noise, and then even some boat stuff
little
that we
motor,
just every little thing. So I've taken what did I do? So I just got the Pro 3, the Mini Pro 3 DJI, just because I could do vertical stuff naturally, and I'm not cropping and losing any quality. And one of the first things I shot, I've always been incorporating sound and everything, but I liked you had done 1 or 2 with the boat noise. Like, I love that. So of course I added that in. You got your birds, you got your ambiance. It's so important.
1000%. I think it's in the beginning we don't realize it. I remember when the first time I picked up a camera and I started shooting video, I didn't really realize the importance of it. So what I did, it's one thing to record a really cool clip, and just especially in the social media age, just tossing on some trending sound or some sound that sounds great,
for sure,
or something that maybe it might fit the video really well. But until I think you really peel back the layers of it, right? Like, once you start adding, it's just like a great photograph. A great photograph has layers, it has depth, it has foreground, and it has all these different things that people might not realize makes a great photo.
Exactly right.
But as a photographer, we say, wow, he really went through the steps to make a great photo. And nothing that is, even with the sound that I add in post, I never divert. I never want it to be artificial. I want it to be sound that I've captured, and a sound bank that I've got while I was on the boat. And natural Lowcountry ambiance. And I think that when that person sees that video, I want them to be like, when they get on site, when they go downtown Beaufort, and they see that downtown bridge, I want them to be hearing the same stuff in the same video.
And I think a lot of people don't realize drones don't capture audio.
No, they don't.
And they don't realize that. And I think it's surprising when you have to tell somebody that it's sound in post.
Exactly. And I think that doing it well is extremely important, because it's so easy to make it maybe too much sound, too much boat motoring.
It's got to be
perfect. And people don't realize that takes time.
It does.
It takes time to know that. And people will see a video, they'll watch a movie and like, oh, this is a great movie, a great documentary, but they don't realize all the separate layers that have to go into the single 12-second clip, 8-second clip.
I watch documentaries so differently now. I appreciate and value a great documentary. And my wife hates it because I'm always talking about what they did to get that shot, or even the B-roll, or whatever that other stuff is that they tie into that. The amount of time and effort it takes. It is just, people don't understand. And that's where the value comes in from a good videographer or photographer, is that post-production of getting that stuff dialed in right. And even the setup and the breakdown. People don't understand. It takes time.
And I think that, no one wakes up being good at something, and so I think a lot of times people get down on themselves and like, well, how can I be a better, and you probably get it all the time, how can I be better at taking photos, or how can I be better at capturing video? But these things take so much time, and you don't, and what's crazy is you might not wake up one day and it clicks, or you might not wake up day one and you have to do all these things and make a great video, but one day you'd be like, I think I added Nat sound on one, and I said, wow, that changes the entire dynamic.
Yeah, the aha
and when
moment.
when you compare yourself to other videographers and other people in the industry, like this guy's at the level that I want to be at.
Yeah.
Okay, how can I get at this level?
Yeah.
You know, and studying that, and I realized how important that sound is,
Yeah.
to the point where I'm way more worried about what nat sound that I put in and how I can capture that exact moment than anything trending on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
or
for
on
sure.
TikTok.
I'm thinking about sound as I'm shooting, or
exactly.
prior to what it's going to sound like and what it looks like, because I can typically sometimes see the final product in my head, and as long as that comes to fruition, then I'm happy with it.
Exactly.
So it's very exciting, especially in this day and age. I mean, there's instant gratification that people want, and I think that goes back too about the timing. They want things now. I want to press a button and do this. That's where AI comes in and all these, these templates and things. People just want to do that, but you learn it and you understand it. And it's just it makes the experience so much more valuable to me to know this end result. And I got these steps to get there. I didn't just press one button.
Yeah. And it
came out.
And I think as videographers, photographers, creators, however we want to, name ourselves, it's seeing something that you see every single day, like the downtown bridge. I see the downtown bridge every day
100%.
that I'm home.
Yep.
Drive over it 1 million times.
Yep.
How can I make this thing that someone sees every single day or whatnot different?
Yeah.
Or look, how can I put my creative touch on this? How can I get this from maybe, an angle that I haven't seen it, or a lighting that I haven't seen it? And I think like with that particular shot, we put that flag up there, around 4th of July. We've been doing it for a little while now. And everyone's seen the downtown bridge. It's so iconic, right? The downtown bridge is so iconic. And, even I take the Lowcountry for granted sometimes.
Oh, of course,
right?
100%.
And so putting a camera in my hand really kind of taught me to slow down. And this thing that it's been there for 150 years, how can I make this thing look unique to someone that lives here? So the compliments that I get on that video that are from people that live here means so much more to me, because they see that bridge so many times, right?
Exactly right.
And it's making those things that we might take for granted, right? Putting a different twist on it. And I think that's what scratches the itch for me, and I think that's just Lowcountry in general, putting my own touch on it, but also showing it in somewhat of a unique way that someone who lives here is like,
for
oh,
sure.
wait, I've passed by that bridge 1,000 times. I've never
even
seen
it that way. Yeah, because you start out, you're shot down, then you're pulling back, and then at the same time you're lifting, and then you just hear it, and it's just it's fantastic. I've got one shot that I did probably about a year and a half ago that I still go back to. It's one of my favorites, where I'm starting low at the point and then coming to it. And then I think my original had a little bit of bird and when the music and some ambiance in the background, but it's just one of those, and it lifts up, and then it just
creates depth.
Oh my
it creates
God,
depth to the shot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it, and and I hate to reuse it. Sometimes I did it like in Earth Day for the CVB. I used it as part of one of the footage or whatever, but it just worked out so well. So let's go back. So you graduated high school what year?
Yep. So I graduated 2011 from Beaver High School.
Beaufort High.
Yes, sir. So I'm Beavertonian pretty much.
Yep.
And kind of from there, I played college baseball, played baseball at Beaver High. Played at Winthrop University in Rock Hills, South Carolina. Played there for a year. There was a coaching change, so I decided to come back home. And I have a single parent. My mom, we have five boys. Oh, wow. So she can't really drive super far distance. So she never was able to visit me while I was in college or see me play or see me pitch or anything. So I kind of made that decision. Hey, at least if I'm going to be switching schools, I want to be somewhere close where my mom can see me play. My brothers can come out and see me play.
Yep.
So I came down, was living in Bluffton, playing ball there for 4 years, and pretty much ever since then, baseball took me to a lot of cool places. In college during the summer, playing summer ball. But yeah, Beaufort's home, man. Beaufort's home.
Love Beaufort. We moved here in '97. January 19th, my son's second birthday.
Oh, yes, you've been here.
Yes,
you've seen some change.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, and and I wouldn't go anywhere. I love something about a small town, and Tony can attest to this because Tony is from California, a bigger city in Bakersfield. You don't run into a gas station and run into somebody.
Yeah.
Here you run into a gas station, grocery store. Water Festival is a perfect example of that. You see people throughout the whole time, and it's a different feeling of being in a small town and knowing people.
Exactly.
That I think a lot of people out or in bigger towns and cities don't understand.
1,000%.
So what got you into photography and videography?
So I'm in 10th grade. And I had just transferred schools from Battery Creek to Beaufort High.
Okay.
And, I'm this baseball guy, sports playing guy. And that's all I knew growing up.
Right.
My mom would run around with a disposable camera. Those old, they still sell them. Those little, you roll it.
Yeah.
And she was the queen of filling those things up, but never getting them developed.
Oh.
So like she could afford getting the camera,
for
but
sure.
she couldn't afford developing.
Yeah.
Right? So we would find these baskets just of these thousands of these like disposable cameras. So I would always like running around with those. So that was like my first real entry into shooting photography or anything, but never took it super serious. We never had even like a actual film camera or anything like that. So I'm in 10th grade and I'm with a guidance counselor, the lady who sets up classes.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you need an art class. You have these 3 options. You have, I think it was like drama. You have like art 101, or we had this new class that we're offering for the first time ever. This is the first time we've ever offered this class at Beaver High. And it's called videography 101. And we have this really cool new teacher. He just graduated from SCAD. Shout out to Mr. Kruger. And that would be a cool opportunity. So I was like, at this point, never shot video. This is really like not even phones really have video
for sure.
cameras.
Right.
So like this is very pre. And I kind of started asking her questions about it, and she was like, "Yeah, well, they got some grant through the state that everyone gets their own camera, right? And you get to, she said you get to run around and film." She really didn't even know the syllabus, right?
Yeah.
So she was like, "You get to run around and you have a hall pass, and you can film your friends or go out to the practices and film."
Right.
And so I was like, man, I'll do that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so, day one, I'm in Mr. Kruger's class, and from day one, I loved it and I think that his love for it, his passion for it, I always liked movies and I always liked documentaries. I always like, I always had this creative itch to me, and I think everyone does,
of course,
to some point. But, I just thought he was so cool. He's just a normal dude, and he just loved video. And I remember like one of the first days in class, he would play maybe a famous film that we all knew. But even before we'd get to the end of it, there was 1,000 things that he pointed out, certain shots, certain frames that we would have never, we don't realize it as just people watching the film.
Right.
And I just thought it was like such a cool concept, and how hard it was to actually make a movie. A lot of people would just think you hit record and that's it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't include sound or, coloring or lighting, all this stuff, and the team that it takes to do that. So, we would get in these small groups and we would do everything from pre-production. We'd storyboard.
Oh, nice.
He taught us about, how you make a movie from the beginning to the climax to the end. And I just thought it was such an amazing thing.
Huge
right.
process.
And even to this day, I use those concepts. I remember him saying something that stuck to me for such a long time. It was like, it doesn't matter if it's 15 seconds, Junior, or if it's 4 hours long. All the pieces of a good story, it's still the same.
Right there. Exactly
still
right.
the same. So
100%.
when you do a 12-second TikTok or a 15-second TikTok, there's still a beginning, climax, and an end.
Always.
And so that one thing right there stuck with me for such a long time. But the whole process of it with the pre-production, the storyboard, I just thought it was just so cool. Like he's letting a 14-year-old kid run around making his own movie with this little, point and shoot digital camera that there was still, it wasn't SD cards.
Oh,
it was like the
cassettes.
Tapes. So you'd put them in and it'd pull them from the computer.
Yeah.
And so, literally. So I just loved it. To this day, it was my favorite class. Yeah. And he was such a good influence on me. He would pick me up from school. It was just it was just a really cool relationship. And so after that year, they offered 102. Did it again, loved it. But I was at a time in my life that if I wanted to go to school and go to college, I needed scholarship,
right, for sure.
And I was always a pretty good student, but I knew that if I wanted to go to college, I needed to focus on baseball.
Yeah.
That was going to be my ticket.
Your avenue.
That was my ticket to go to a school, to a big school. So, after that junior year, I just went all in on baseball.
Yeah.
Went all in, finished the class, still to this day a favorite class, and I didn't pick up a camera for close to 4 years.
Oh, wow.
During baseball.
Yeah.
Because once you start into a college sport, you get into school and you're working out in the morning, you got practices out in the afternoon, you got study hall at night, and that's 6-7 days a week. So just so focused on that. But I always grew up in the Lowcountry loving outdoors, loving fishing. And from the moment we first moved here, we're always a crapshoot away from the Broad River. We'd ride our bikes and fish. We'd go to the Broad River Pier, and this was before it was the old bridge.
Yeah,
right? This
exactly.
is when it was the actual
bridge.
pier where people don't realize it's next to the ramp.
Yeah.
So this was way back, and you'd actually drive on the
sketchy ass
pier.
road.
Yeah, you'd drive on the pier. That is it was the bridge.
And it was 2-lane too, so it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we grew up in the outside. And that was our playground.
Right.
My mom would go to work, and we would just ride around the rivers, messing around, flipping rocks. We'd save up our money, go, buy a fishing rod, and do all that fun stuff. So, other than baseball and the outdoors, that's really all I knew. So, when baseball started slowing down for me, I had all this free after around the same time I graduated college. I had all this free time that I never had up until I was since I was in 10th, 9th grade.
Yeah.
So I had this massive void. Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I passionate about? Right. I had this. You
didn't know who you had to refine yourself.
I was still young, and I didn't know. There's when you're young, you just don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So I had this, this gap or this void that I needed to fill, and I was really doing it just fishing. Really,
right.
I would just go out in the outdoors. If it was this is pre-skiff, pre-boat, this is kayak, paddleboard, just wading, stuff like that. And I remember, I just went all in on that. And I would come back and hang out with my friends, and I would tell them about, oh man, you never guess what I saw an osprey take out a redfish and fly off with it. Dude, I saw a dolphin strand feeding down this creek, and it was only me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't bring my phone or anything because I wouldn't want it to get wet.
Yeah.
And my friends would be like, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
No
prove
pictures
it,
didn't
dude.
happen.
Prove
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Right? They'd be like, prove it. So I remember I saved up some money, and I bought it was a GoPro. I think it was a 3, like a silver 3. And I was like, all right, well, I'll start recording it.
Yeah.
And I'll show you guys. So bought this little GoPro, and I started recording all the my little fishing stuff. I had no idea what I was doing.
Of course.
Zero idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's 1080?
no,
What's
yeah,
720p mean?
I'm Googling it. I'm like,
Right.
what is this stuff?
Yeah.
And GoPro audio, as you know, is not. Then it was. I mean, it was
their waterproof housing was trash anyway.
Exactly.
I think I've got a 3 over there.
Exactly. So none of that was even a concept, and I was really just doing it because, one, I'd like to go fish all day and then go back and see, whoa, what happened? Maybe it was something that I missed.
Yeah.
And then that turned into them wanting to see what happened.
Got it.
And them kind of being the first, let me see what happened last week.
Yeah.
And so from there, honestly, I saved up enough money, and I just upgraded that GoPro.
Yeah.
And I saved up enough money, and then I upgraded that GoPro. And then I started, seeing these really cool people in the industry making these really cool videos, because this is really right when Instagram really started.
Yeah.
Instagram started when I was, I think, a sophomore in college.
Okay.
But then it was just pictures of you and your friends.
Exactly right.
Right. So it was nothing really super artistic yet.
Yeah.
And so, I just started making these little small short edits with, I'd throw a sound on there, and they'd be like, oh, this is the coolest video I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I always had this itch to, how can I be better? How can I be better? How can I tell a story instead of it just being highlights?
Especially with the background that you had in high school. So that was always in the back of your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had the foundation from Mr. Kruger to, okay, this is how you build a story. Doesn't matter if it's a documentary, if it's fiction, nonfiction, or what the end goal is. The middle is the same, right? So I started researching, started reading books, and I started watching so many YouTube University, right, like YouTube U.
Oh yeah.
And trying to learn all the techniques, but not just to make a cool hype video, but why do I like this shot? What about this shot in this movie? Why do I like it?
Right, exactly.
And learning and pulling back the layers and saying like, okay, well, because he framed it this way, and he why was this shot? Why am I scared in this shot? Right?
Yeah.
Or why am I happy?
Focal length and just lighting and everything.
Exactly. And nail on the head. Yeah. And so I just went all in, and just I had a daytime job, and I'd work all day, and then I would go home and just learn and try to learn, and then I would go apply it. I would go apply it. And then, I remember the first actual camera I bought, it was $750 off of eBay, and it was a Sony 6300, I think. Okay. So that was the first camera that wasn't a GoPro.
Right.
And I was so nervous. I was like, how am I? I'm gonna be bankrupt for the rest of my. How am I gonna financially recover from this?
Yeah.
Like, right? So it was like it had been used, and I had a Sigma. Oh no, I had a Sony 50 1.8, the Nifty 50. Okay. That was the first lens I bought, And so I thought it was like the craziest, like the image quality was the craziest.
Yeah.
To this day, it's so sharp.
It is.
And then, and I would just run around and film these stupid adventures, right? These fishing adventures with this little Sony. And I remember I bought a Sigma. I think it was a Sigma 16 millimeter, super wide.
Oh, wow.
So I would have this tight and this wide
Yeah,
and this tight and this
just
wide.
to mix it up,
Just to add some depth. And I had no idea what I was doing, right? Just, reading magazines, reading articles. And from that, it honestly, it snowballed into what it is now and working with, outdoor companies, outdoor brands. And it's honestly, funny story is when I signed on to do this show that I'm doing now, it was 3 years to the day I bought that camera off of eBay.
Really?
So 3 years from the day that I bought that camera, I was I had this lifetime, this once in a lifetime opportunity to do this gig of something that I grew up loving to do. Right. Because you grow up watching these fishing shows and you grow up watching the Spanish Fly and you're on ESPN. This is when ESPN had, all these fishing shows and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be that. Yeah. And so that's why I was fishing. I want to be in I want to be the show. Right. For you want to be the show.
Yeah.
And so really, it just kind of just snowballed from that. And it's been such a fast rise. Sometimes I blink and I'm like, what happened?
For probably
sure. Probably the same, probably the kind of the same for you.
A little bit. Did they reach out to you or was that a DM that you did for them or how did that connection happen?
Yeah. So, ironically, through the industry, I was shooting with this guy named Justin Hodge. He actually was a pretty, he shot a bunch of outdoor stuff he's based out of Colombia. So I actually had never met him in person.
Okay.
He moves to Bluffton.
Okay.
And so he, I think, we connect. Hey man, let's grab a beer. Let's hang out, go to dinner. And I think I took him fishing a couple times.
Okay.
And so, we're friends. We're cool. And I was kind of doing my own thing. And this was kind of, I had 1 or 2 paid clients.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff I was doing from just pushing. Of
course, you're creating your portfolio, so to speak.
And exactly. And I didn't want, just because I didn't have a client, not to create. I wanted to always create.
Of course.
Create, and that's how you become better, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I get this phone call from him, and this was January of last year, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm working on this show for CBS Sports called the Sport Fishing Championship." The producer called and he said, there's one slot left, someone couldn't do it or something, and would this be something that you'd want to do? Would you be interested in doing it? And I was like, oh man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah,
100%. And what's crazy is maybe I would have never probably reached out to them because I didn't think I was good enough.
Of course,
right. I had this nugget
self-doubt
in my head. I had this self-doubt, like I'm probably not good enough to do this. Why would I reach out to them? Because I knew he was doing it. I knew he had the opportunity to do it. And so, he threw my name out there, and he really went to bat. He trusted in me. He believed in me and it's just so cliche to say, but I can't. There's no other way I can put it.
Yeah.
He believed in me when no one else did believe in me. I didn't even believe in myself at that point.
Right, for sure.
To be in some CBS show.
Yeah.
So he threw my name out there, and literally the next day, the producer calls me, and we talked for an hour. He had already vetted my portfolio,
of course,
which is pretty crazy. He'd pretty much vetted me.
So just imagine if you didn't have all that content built up already, then there's no way they would have seen you.
And I think that's what people forget. People think that the apple comes before the tree.
Yeah,
which it's never that ever in any business or any especially photography and videography. So and none of that stuff was really paid. At that point.
Right,
really?
For sure.
And so
but it paid off.
But it paid off.
Exactly.
It paid off. Exactly. Yeah. And we talked. We hit me and that producer. We hit it off. And I remember the last thing that he asked me. He was like, "Oh man, I'm going to send you the agreement, but last question. You don't get seasick, do you?" At this point, I had never even been offshore.
Oh shit! Yeah, so you're always creek stuff.
I've never even been offshore, more than a mile offshore.
Right.
Everything I've been in these tiny 16, 17 foot skiffs or a kayak or a paddleboard. And man, I told him at the end of last season, I said, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I told you a little white lie. I was like, yeah, man, I don't get seasick. Yeah. No, man, you had to send it over the I don't get seasick. I was so nervous for that first show.
Of course.
Oh my gosh, I was so incredibly nervous.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to be the reason why.
Right.
And it's funny looking back now.
Yeah.
Right. And so as the story goes, he sends over the agreement, and kind of the rest is history. And it's been such an awesome opportunity because I'm shooting along people that I used to look up to, and I still look up to them.
Yeah, of course.
I still look up to them. But being able to call them and talk to them, like, hey man, I have this shoot coming up. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Even with business to business, getting pricing and quoting other people.
Oh, that's huge.
And it is such a
because
overlooked
there's
aspect.
no book that tells you what
book.
because every town is different, every client's different, everybody's budget's different, everybody's perception of value is different.
Exactly.
So there's
no blueprint. There's no,
there is
hey, you start
not.
this job. Here's the instruction manual to do it.
And people in town, a lot of people gatekeep. You know, what I mean, you're not going to share what they want because if they're, you know what I mean. It's just it's insane. Of course, on the internet, a big TikTok thing, great quality content creators don't gatekeep. Well, of course, you're reaching people that aren't in your DMA. They're not your demographic, so therefore they're not competing with you like that. So it's tough for people like us to do pricing and do fair pricing to where we don't feel like we're getting crapped on or taken advantage of.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you don't want to overvalue it and then not get money at all.
Exactly.
So I'd rather get a little bit than nothing. It's a whole thing.
And for someone like us, and Buford is a smaller town, we don't have that connection to be like, there's this other guy in town that, maybe we can, I can talk to and, ask him this idea or just pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, especially for someone like you, where it's been so progressive, and you've seen since '97, you've seen that what it's turned into from not even just video, but just from social media. And marketing has changed so much, and it changes every single day.
It does,
and that's an everyday process. It's not like some instruction manual blue collar job where it's hey, this is how you do it.
Yeah, every single day is not there.
Everything's so different. Every client is different. All the needs are different.
Yeah.
So having that that web of people that I can reach out to. And it's also helped me out too. Those guys need people to shoot other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
They have this shoot, but they got this guy that needs a shoot for this week.
Yep.
And so it's paid off in that end where I used to be so scared because how we grew up, money was the number one thing that, we didn't have. Like, we
right, for sure.
We couldn't do this because we didn't have.
Same, exactly right.
So I grew up, you need to have this set job where you get this so you can provide for your family and do all this stuff. So it's such a scary, scary jump. To do, and I was like I said, I didn't even believe in myself. So it took someone else to be like, "Hey, you can do this, man. I'm going to put my name on the line because I have this much faith in you to do it."
Yeah. And
I think with that, it helped me gain confidence. Like, okay, these other guys, and then, doing the show and being shoulder to shoulder with some of the best people, at least in the outdoor filming industry, and
right.
It's just such a cool experience, man, and it's taken me places that I would have never imagined going, and things that I would have only probably have watched on TV.
Yeah.
But no, it's been such a blessing, and I'm excited to what the future holds with it. And
so what's happening in the horizon now? So you're leaving Thursday, you said?
Yeah. So Thursday. Yep.
Where are you going?
South Padre Island, the tournament called the TIFT. So the show that I do, they bring in a production crew and on site for each of these tournaments. And they basically make a show out of this tournament. So they use this competition. This captain doesn't like this captain, or in this drama. It's a sport. It's really a sport.
Of course.
But the sport is fishing, right? So it's you go offshore. You spend 2-3 days offshore. You're spending the night with crews that you've never met, never even talked to. You show up at 4:30 in the morning. Hey guys, my name's Junior.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be spending the night in your bunk for the next 2 weeks, or I'm sleeping on the couch for the next 2 weeks. So that's just bizarre. Like it's so hard to tell people, to explain it to people without sitting down with a microphone and being like, this is kind of like what we do. But yeah, so they produce the show, and there's a team that that wins, there's a team that lose, and our jobs are to be on these boats and be our little, wear all these hats, being the camera guy, but also kind of being like a mini producer, setting up these interviews and maybe trying to create some drama, right? Like, oh, tell me why you don't like that boat over there.
Got it.
And so it's cool because it's real life. There's no script.
Yeah.
There's no script. There's no, hey, can you say this for me?
Yeah, for sure.
It's as pure as it can get on a reality reality aspect. So it's super unique.
What's the name of the show officially?
Sport Fishing Championship.
Sport Fishing Championship.
And it's on CBS Sports Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Okay.
And what's really cool about the show is it's shot and pretty much cut the same day.
Oh yeah.
And there's times that we've actually have been live. I'm actually the first person to ever go live via Starlink in the middle of the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, through CBS Sports.
CBS Sports.
Which is such a crazy thing to think
course,
about.
yeah.
To be able to go live, they're being seen. This crew is tying a ballyhoo or
It's not a bad resume bullet.
it's pretty, and I didn't even realize it until
Yeah.
they told me afterwards, after the fact, when the producer said it in
Yeah.
the ear. But it's so cool seeing, with technology and so many moving parts,
Yep.
to seeing it applied in really cool, unique ways. So from there we go to White Marlin Open, which is it's the richest, I guess, fishing tournament in the United States. I think
Wow.
it's a $6 million purse. So it's a massive tournament, and then we go to Puerto Rico for the SFC championships.
Nice.
And that's where we end. I think it's 12 stops this year, and I think they're adding 5 next year.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty unique experience, and I'm just grateful and blessed to be able to do it, man.
Are you so is your contract yearly, or is it, how does that work?
Yep, it's yearly. So with the production, they're on a 3-year contract, I believe, and then we're just, it's very competitive. I'm
sure there's so many people that want to get in.
There's a lot. Yeah, you wouldn't realize it. If you told someone you get to spend the night with some smelly fishing guys, they'd be like, "Oh no!" But it's super competitive. It's extremely stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And just and you can attest, there's no Best Buy 200 miles offshore. Right. So you have to come prepared. You have to be ready, and things go wrong out there. There's things that break. There's viewfinder cords that fray, and there's lav mics that don't work for some reason. And it's technology. It's electronics. Sometimes they have their mind of its own.
Yeah.
So that's been a learning experience, right? Learning on the fly, like regardless, CBS wants this footage.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, right. They need a show.
Yeah.
And so that's been such a cool
and
learning
it's all
experience.
your equipment that you supply. They're just paying you for your services, and basically they're renting you and your equipment.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where it gets tricky, because some of the best shots are the riskiest. And you don't want to. You're right. So you don't want to go down 15, 20K on a camera and some lav mics and a shotgun mic. So they pay us, and then we supply our own equipment.
Yep.
Well, like I said, which is a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Right.
I probably would have never got a big boy camera like that. I would have been too scared.
It been, for sure.
I would have been way too scared to do it.
Yeah.
But so they basically contract us out, and it's a crew of 8 camera guys. And so there's a couple land-based guys that stay on land while we're all out. And then there's a group that go on the boats.
Got it.
But it's blown up, and it's been super unique. Before this season, they did a concept, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but there's something called like the match, which is like they'll pair a PGA golfer with like Patrick Mahomes, right? Some big sports guy, and they'll go play golf, and they'll team up, and for charity and stuff like that. Yeah. With the SFC,
it's like a pro-am thing.
Yes,
for golf,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they did something like that with the NFL. Called the Catch down in Miami, and
a little play on words.
Yeah. Right. So
Kudos.
It's they got these top NFL guys to go fish with our best captains for the year before the SFC. So it's like this, you have these captains that this is their dome. This is their NFL.
Right.
They play professionally for fishing.
Yeah.
Right. They catch fish professionally. And then, you have this mix of these guys are $1 million NFL athletes.
Yeah.
These guys are the best. You're watching these guys on Sunday.
Right.
These guys were on ESPN last night, and they bring these two worlds together, and to be able to be a part of that, I still sometimes I'm in awe of it, and to be on a $10 million boat, filming fishing with this
people.
NFL guy that I watched last
it's got to
season.
be surreal.
And it's so surreal. That's a perfect word to I get goosebumps talking about it, because I would have never imagined when I picked up that Hero 3 that would have led to me filming Justin Herbert or Quentin Williams Jr. in the back of a sport fisher boat. But it's so crazy that we talked about it before the pod, that everyone has their own walks of life and how they got into it. And it's so cool that we can have all these different backgrounds and still get to and it is turned to this and to experience such a cool it's just a cool opportunity. I bet you feel the same way.
I do, and it just makes you. I mean, a lot of opportunities that we've had is because of word of mouth of who I've known, and it kind of goes back to knowing the guy that moved to Bluffton, and then that led to this. Obviously, the skill set's there. You have to drive the passion, the vision for that, but it was that friendship that opened that door, which is now opening all these other doors.
Yeah.
So relationships are huge in life in general, from a personal and a professional standpoint. and then having Tony here with us and then showing him the value of those friendships. We'll even stop at businesses that I have. Duffy, we talked about Duffy downtown. I have no client base with Duffy's not a client of mine, but I've stopped in and created a relationship. Joe at Monkey's uncle, I would stop in on him for probably 3 years before he became a client.
Yeah.
Because I knew there was potential there and I wanted the job down the line. But him as a person, I enjoyed him and stopping in. It was very cordial, very, very nice. And we had a great conversation. And that led to that opportunity. So friendship and networking is huge.
And I think it creates a better product. It's so much easier shooting your friends, right? It's so hard to, this is the first time we met. This is it. And now I need to make a great product out of this. It's so much easier. Everyone loves shooting their friends. And it's funny that you say that is, I remember when the first season, these guys don't know you from Adam. They're hopping on these boats. You're going to spend 3 days with them, and they're fishermen. Fishermen are. I'm a fisherman, so I can attest to it. They're secretive. This is how I do my things, and I don't want my stuff shown. I don't want. This is where I fish. I don't want these people to know where I'm fishing.
Yeah.
And so it's already a very, I'm gonna hold my cards close, which is the hardest thing to film.
I can imagine.
It's so hard to get a really good product out of that. So I remember day one, episode 1, we're in Grand Isle, Louisiana, and I'm with the boat called the Crawgator, and the name is exactly what you think. I mean, these guys are from the deep bayou of Louisiana, redneck rich guys, like just crazy, man, just crazy. And they were super very nervous of me. They didn't want me to record anything, and they were very, very standoffish. And so I'm nervous because at the end of the day, I have to get something. I have a job to do, and I'm not going to be like, hey, well, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. This is my job. I'm not going to be that. I'm on their home. I'm in their domain. Of course. I'm on their boat. They're feeding me. Right. So I remember, I thought about something what Kruger said once, and he was like, it's always easier to shoot friends. And so what I did, I put the camera away. I put it down in the cabin, and I just got to know him. On the way, you have a 4-hour ride out. Right. And so I just got to, what do you do? What did you do? What do you do for a living? Yeah. Because not I'm a full-time fisher, other than the captain and maybe the mate. There's 5 or 6 other dudes on that boat that have daytime jobs. One guy was a crawfish farmer. Like, just getting to know them, where are they from? Like, how'd you get into fishing? And that paid so much dividends once we stopped and we started fishing. Yeah. The product that I got before that and after for the next 3 days, they were so much more comfortable with me. And if they're comfortable with me, they'll let me get closer. They'll let me shoot this. They're not intimidated. Exactly. And they'll say this on camera. And they'll let me get in a good position. Yeah. Because it's not like you're in this perfect studio where everything's laid out. For sure. A lot of these guys have never been in front of a camera or know that a camera's on board. So it's really hard to shoot people when they're all in the back looking for the fish and trying to leader this 500-pound marlin. Right. So you have to create this friendship with them to be like, they'll let you in. Yeah. They'll let you get the really good shots. And from that first ride out, it taught me. I was like, there's so much value in this. Yeah. And I didn't want to record that stuff. I didn't want to record what they did for a living or tell me about your wife or tell me, your craziest fishing experience. Just tell me about yourself, because once I learn more about them and they learn more about me and my background and know, hey, I'm exactly you guys. Yeah. I'm a fisherman. I'm from South Carolina, man. Yeah.
So does that help that you are a fisherman? Do you speak their language?
Yeah. So it's good and bad. It's great because I predominantly fish inshore, fly fishing, stuff that we have here. Yeah. And like I said, to that point, I had never been offshore. Right. But I think this is where I can get a really good product in this, is because I can just be a fly on the wall, and I'm such a novice to blue marlin or offshore fishing, or I had never even seen a tuna in real life, let alone marlin or mahi or all these crazy, pelagic fish. So the questions that I would ask came from a very authentic, of course. I really wanted to know, why are you doing it this way? Yeah. Like, can you tell me why you're doing it this way? And thankfully I had a camera with me. And once you get that first, you get that original answer back. Right. And so I think because of that, I was so curious. You can just be on the fly wall. There's no judgment. Oh, I would have do it this way.
Yeah, for sure. You're not,
because that's just fishing. That's anything.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Just like videographers. I would have got the shot this way. Yeah. So it was nice that I could just be on a fly. I can be on a fly wall and just see how they did it. And when I asked these questions that the viewer would ask. Right. And so it's because that's the viewer is the customer, right? So these questions that I would ask, why are you setting up this way, or why are we this far instead of over here? What are you looking for in this? I would get good feedback back. Right. and being able to have a camera and record the audio of that
it's even
creates
better.
a better product for
Yeah.
the people in the studio, cutting it, mixing it, putting it on air.
Yeah.
So it was good because I can talk the talk.
Yeah.
Right. But also, it's a completely new thing to me
Yeah.
that I can generally learn.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that.
So coming in year 2, I have knowledge of why they're doing it this way. So I can get the shot to be like, okay, if I frame it this way, they're going to realize what's going on and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, talking to the captains and the mates and creating that relationship. So what it is, it's not because I'm so super good at what I do or anything like that. I just think it was one, luck, right? I think with everything, there's a little bit of luck.
Of course.
But 2, I just knew enough. I knew enough to get by.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that if you have a little bit of knowledge with that, you're able to pry it out of them. And they're like, okay, he talks the talk. He knows the difference between a dredge and a teaser. He knows the
for
difference
sure.
between this boat and that boat.
Yeah.
And so it's just a level of comfortability that they have with me.
Yeah.
And
they're like, yeah, who's this Yahoo coming on the boat? Doesn't even know anything about fishing.
Oh,
and then trying to ask these
exactly.
questions. Yeah. So there's a little bit more respect towards you
Yes.
because you have some knowledge as opposed to someone that doesn't know anything. You're not some camera nerd.
exactly.
Coming on there.
And you know, coming from small town Beaufort's, you know, USA, I would be so nervous because, you know, these guys were coming in from the show from all over, you know, Miami, Tampa, Atlanta,
big city stuff.
cities, big.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been on things that I've watched.
Yeah.
Right. And so they have this background, or maybe they've been to film school, or maybe, you know, they just have a much more, you know, this isn't a TikTok video.
Right,
You know,
for
this
sure.
isn't an Instagram reel. This is a real produced TV show with a lot of money on
Yeah.
the line that people are putting up a lot of money for.
Yeah.
And so I was so, you know, going back to having self-doubt, I was so nervous that I wouldn't do a good job. But being there and you know, I can talk the talk a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so crazy looking back. It's like if I wasn't, you know, raised in Beaufort, if I didn't spend all that time outdoors, would I be as good as, you know, would I be able to ask these questions?
Right,
would
right,
I be
right.
able to talk the talk?
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, you know what? I can talk to these guys.
Yeah.
You know, I have a comfortability with these guys, and these guys have a comfortability with me. But it all comes back to here and how I was raised,
Yeah.
and you know, running around in the marsh, and you know, knowing how to talk to them, knowing how
Right.
to get that stuff out of them,
Yeah.
and being like, you know what, these guys don't want to talk to me if I'm some stranger.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's
so
why
they know you're basically one of them, just and what's the I'll say indoor fisherman. What it's inshore fisherman. Sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, you're just them, but just cut from a different cloth. So to
Yeah,
speak.
and you go to, you know, that captain 2 days before I'm on the boat, and you're like, hey, you know, thank you for signing up for the SFC. You know, we're gonna put a camera guy on your boat. That guy off the rip he's gonna be nervous. He's
Of
gonna be
course.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I remember, like I said, I hopped on the boat. They thought I was gonna be some city from New York, some
Oh, yeah,
camera
yeah.
guy from New
Yeah.
York City
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
doesn't know fishing, that
Right.
doesn't, and they were so standoffish about
Yeah.
it. But they went, hey, where you from, boy?
Yeah,
Where you
that whole
from?
thing, yeah.
I'm from South Carolina, man. I'm a Beaufort
Yeah.
boy down there on the coast.
Yeah.
And so just that, and you don't think about it at the time. Like you
Right.
think, you know, I have people that I went to school with, like, oh, Beaufort's such a small town. I can't wait to get out. I
course.
can't wait to do. But I don't think I would. I know for a fact I wouldn't be where I'm at
If you
without
weren't,
that.
yeah. And people
know?
at the age didn't realize it. I mean, we had this conversation before that they just want to get out of this small town and to something bigger and better. Grass is always greener,
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing. But then when you get there, you realize it's not. There's just more crap that makes the grass look greener.
exactly. It's always greener where you water it.
Yeah, exactly right. So, Junior, I want to wrap it up. I think there's plenty to talk about. I'd love to have you back on in a couple weeks,
would
a
love
few
to.
months or so to come back and then follow up with that. When's the season over with?
So the last week of August.
Okay.
Yeah, we're wrapping up first week of August, and then basically off season, and then yeah, man, I would love to hop back on
Okay,
here and
yeah,
talk
for
a little
sure.
bit, man.
Just to kind of see how the rest of it went, and so I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and everybody have a good day.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and
Yeah,
thank
man.
you.
Thanks.